Two things that I've been playing around with recently. I've been listening to Steely Dan's Asia album. If you haven't heard that album or you don't own it and you play any type of music, go and do it. It is deservedly a classic. And also the dumble models in the Axe FX3. And the two obviously have quite a bit to do with one another because, of course, Larry Carlton plays a little bit of guitar on Steely Dan's Asia record. There's a great documentary on this that I'd recommend watching as well. You know, he's talking about writing charts for them and stuff like that and all the interesting harmony that they're using. And they play one of his solos and it's just unreal. So in honor of sort of Larry and that kind of 70s fusion tone, which a lot of people try to cop using stuff like dumble amps, I want to show you guys how to dial in the dumble ODS clean. I'm using this guitar, a 77 Jazz model. Thank you so much to Tim down at MT Guitars. Check out this absolute beast of a guitar. Really, really light and resonant. It's actually got a spruce top, which is kind of cool. So the trick with all of this, though, is actually set your guitar up with all the controls on about 6 or 7. So if you set that up, then all I've done on the Axe FX dumble model is I've selected the ODS clean, and then I've turned the gain up to about 7, and I've turned the master control all the way up. I'm using a couple of the legacy cabs based around an EV12L or S or something like that. That's kind of the secret to the sound. But the whole idea, and this, I'm going to move back so you can actually see me. The whole idea with this kind of sound is that you set your guitar up like that so that you can do all the gain staging on your guitar. So if you set it up right, you should be able to get this kind of sound, a real sweet edge of breakup tone. So if you're sort of playing smooth, funky stuff like that, it's right on the edge of breaking up, and then when you hit it hard, you get just the tiniest little bit of crunch. So the beauty of this setup is by using the pickup selector, you can go from basically almost a jazzy kind of sound on the neck pickup. The middle pickup gives you that kind of funk thing. And the bridge pickup is a little bit snarly. Then, if you want to, say, make the bridge pickup a little bit brighter, you can turn the tone control up, like for a little sweet solo boost. And then, of course, you can turn the volume control up. And then, of course, you can go back down to 7 on the volume and the tone on those. And, you know, like I said, you can switch between your kind of rhythm sound, your lead sound, your really smooth sound. And I guess this is really inspired by guys like Larry and Jay Graydon, you know, the kind of session aces from the 70s, where, you know, those guys obviously had a couple of sounds that they would need to get. You know, if you're doing a Steely Dan record, I imagine there'd be more than a couple of sounds you had to get. That would be a pretty hard session gig. But the idea would be like, you know, you can take a Strat and like a 335 and, you know, maybe an acoustic guitar and kind of get the job done. This is before we had modeling, so you'd have to basically select your gear really, really wisely, so it's nice and versatile. But the whole idea here is, you might cut a track with that sort of funky in-between position. You might do like another part on the neck pickup, and then while you're playing around playing lead, you can go from like a really sweet kind of bluesy tone for the fills. But the whole idea is that it's actually the amp that's doing all the work, and this is why people love dumbles, right? It's for that edge of breakup, super sensitive sort of thing, whereas if you're playing, even with the volume on full, and you pick really softly, so that is super cool, and that's, I really am beginning to appreciate those dumble models in there for that reason, and especially setting it up with a sweet guitar like this one, just for that kind of whole era of tones. And I love listening to bands like Steely Dan, all the yacht fusion stuff. And if you wanted to take that sort of next level and think of like, I don't know, Room 335 or something like that by Larry Carlton, you can add the FET drive boost. I've got these like clon style settings, which is drive at 3, tone at about 7, level all the way up, and I've changed the clipping type to, I think, germanium, and then set the high cut to about 6.5K. When you do that, it really takes it next level. And the trick, again, is to set the volume and tone to about 7, so that you've kind of got it in the sweet spot where you like it, and you dial it in there, and then you can bring in more or less from the guitar. You don't really need to touch anything else. The last thing is adding I'm using the stereo BBD, so stereo delay, with the delay ratio set to about 75% and about 4% mix. And this kind of gives you the Andy Timmons, what he calls the like halo effect around a note, so this kind of thing. Actually, that's pretty cool. If you turn the level up there on the, actually the drive level up, let me do that, and the level up on the delay, this is at about 15%. Sorry that I didn't take a screen cap of this. There's not a whole lot going on in Axe Edit, but you can kind of get the Eric Johnson thing happening as well. Just basically leave, whoa, see that's starting to take off. Crank the volume control up and leave the neck tone at about 6 or 7. diffusion cranked on the delay there, as you could probably hear. They weren't very defined repeats there. You might want to turn the diffusion down for anything else like that. And then of course, take the pedal off and set your volume to about 7, and you've got a sweet, clean sound. Which is really, really nice. So that is how I've been using the Dumble ODS. That's a clean model. There's a couple of the like Robin Ford models in there, and the HRM models as well. If you want more of like a sort of smooth, creamy kind of thing. But to me, the Dumble thing really excels at that edge of breakup. It's like the definitive edge of breakup amp. And it just sort of puts you into that sweet spot where if you're playing fusion or you're playing, you know, anything jazzy or anything kind of bluesy, it's a thing. I didn't get it for a long time, but it is 100% a thing. And yeah, there is a little bit more than meets the eye. You know, if you stage it with pedals and add some ambience, like I said, you can kind of do the Eric Johnson thing with it. Again, that's the ODS clean, totally stock settings. Just turn the master up to 10 and turn the gain up to taste with your volume controls set at 7. And you just turn the gain up to where it starts to break up, and that seems to be the way to use that one. So I'll put this little preset up. There's not a whole lot going on, or you can just check out the there is a factory ODS clean. Go in and tweak that one, because basically that's all I did. I think I'm using similar cabs as well for that. So yeah, maybe just start with that factory one, because that was kind of the inspiration for this. I was just playing around with it a little bit, listened to some Steely Dan, and yeah, got inspired. So hopefully this inspires you guys to go check the Dumbles out. And yeah, this 77 guitar is pretty sweet as well. I really like it. I don't want to give it back, but I'll have to. So I'll try to do a few more videos with it over the next couple of weeks. Until then, you guys stay excellent. If you like the video, hit subscribe, check out my other Axe Effects content and general guitar stuff, and yeah, be excellent. See you around.